I didn't know what to expect as I stood there, waiting for the doors to swing open. All I knew, what was about to come to that door, was a frenzy of wide-eyed, vicious women, all fighting for their favourite spot on the bingo floor. Once all the catfighting and name-calling got settled, and old grievances were forgiven, I was ready to start the show. You could hear a pin drop as all the women sat patiently waiting for that all-important first number. I'm sure we have some pretty legs in this room. Legs 11. The disappointment from the first number was palpable in the room. 2 little ducks, 22. I continued calling the numbers until one lucky woman screamed bingo, to the dismay of the rest of the hall. I didn't much like my job. I took to staying behind until all the women left. The woman that lost would take their anger out on me for not calling the numbers they needed to win, and would spit at me and call me nasty names as I tried to leave. I had a bottle hurled at my head once, and one innocent granny even pulled a gun on me. When I first started this job, it was only meant to be temporary, a stepping stone for something much greater and fast-worded. 10 years later, and I'm still here. I always wondered what drove these women to the bingo halls, when most go home bitter and angry. For most, it's a daily routine, and acted as an escape from their miserable lives. I would see the same sad faces, day in, day out, all focused on me, waiting for me to make their dreams come true. The bingo hall was like limbo, where all the women came to wait for their eventual demise. This particular day was a dreary one, and my optimism for the numbers had crashed. I was busy getting ready while all the women waited in the foyer for me to start. As I was getting ready, I felt a cold chill creep up my spine. A hand grabbed me by the scruff of my shirt as I screamed for them to get off of me. Margaret was a scary lady. People knew her as the voodoo witch of East Dale. People would go to her for spells, and if the price was right, she would cast a curse on someone for you. "You're not meant to be back here," I scolded. Margaret looked at me with a blank expression, and her eyes had completely glossed over. I tried nudging her in the direction of the exit, and suddenly she started coughing and choking uncontrollably. Horrible green mucus began spewing from her mouth. She grabbed me and puked a bingo ball covered in green slime into my hand before dropping dead on the floor. Women dying in bingo halls wasn't uncommon, so the show continued, and the woman's body was discreetly removed. I tried my best to compose myself. My body was rattling, and images of the dead blank expression on the woman's face filled my mind. I rolled the basket to call the first number, but something was not right. The numbers were coming out blank, which was strange because the balls in the basket were all numbered. Every turn of the basket gave me a blank ball, and the woman was starting to become impatient. I looked out over the crowd and called the first number that came to my head. There was a sigh of relief through the hall as the woman marked the first number. They hadn't noticed, so with every blank ball, I made up a number. I continued calling the numbers until there was a buzz of excitement coming from the very back of the hall. A little old lady was jumping up and down with the card in her hand, screaming bingo. She walked up to me and handed me the card to check her numbers, and then kissed me on the cheek. "This is my first time winning, and I've been coming years." The next day at work, I was surprised to find the woman who won the night before wasn't there. Women are religious when it comes to bingo, and nothing stops them making it in. I hadn't thought too much about it until word got around that she had died. I felt sick to my stomach. The excitement of winning was too much, and it was all my fault. I was all set to do the night's call when the numbers started coming out blank again. I was sure the guys in the back were playing a prank on me, and when I brought it to their attention, they looked at me as if I was crazy. The woman was starting to get a bit annoyed, so I just made the numbers up again. A lump in my throat grew with each number I called, until 3 women began screaming and jumping for joy. Old ladies die of natural causes all the time. What happened was just a coincidence, I thought to myself as I headed into work. I kept my eyes peeled for the 3 women who won the night before. I scanned the room as the old woman took their seats. The doors closed, and all I saw were 3 empty seats where the woman normally sat. A dark cloud descended over me, and every roll of the cage felt like a nail in the coffin for some poor old soul. I shouted out the numbers with a painted-on smile, but inside I was dying. I could see the cold hand of death reach out and touch the women as they excitedly marked their winning numbers. "Bingo!" screamed one of the women in the front row. She skipped up to the stage with the winning ticket in her hand. She looked elated, as if she had just won the lottery. Little did she know she wasn't going to be around to enjoy it. I felt my eyes well up as I took the card from the woman. I thought it best to embarrass her and make a liar out of her in front of all her friends and tell her she was mistaken. It was an awkward and strange encounter. She protested and cried she'd won, but for her own good, I denied her. The next day, I had fully expected to see her back in her seat, but whatever God was behind this was cruel. Word got back to me that she was hit by a bus not so long after she left the hall. I was heartbroken. Her final moments were spent in disappointment, all thanks to me. I couldn't do this anymore. It wasn't my job to decide these women's fate, so I ran, and I kept on running until I made it home. I couldn't sleep, and when I did, the voodoo woman stalked my dreams. Bingo balls poured from her mouth as everyone around me died. I could hear the same number being repeated, over and over again. I'd wake up, and all over the house, I would see the same number. Then, I remembered the bingo ball the voodoo lady hopped up and gave me. I kept it in my work bag. I don't know why I kept it. Maybe I thought it would be evidence if the cops came looking for answers. The ball smelled and still looked like something my cat had coughed up, but the number was clear as day. I couldn't escape the feeling I was meant to be somewhere or doing something. The number got louder in my head until I could do nothing to drown it out. It called out to me from the shadows of my apartment and in my dreams when it let me sleep. I awoke to the sound of screaming coming down the hall. I rushed outside, only to be knocked off my feet by Mrs. Cranston, one of the regulars at the bingo hall. I was used to fending off the disgruntled loser, but Mrs. Cranston was like a rabid dog. She came at me, wide-eyed and vicious, begging me to take her. It took everything to get her off me, and when I got to my knees, she fell to hers, begging me to take her soul. Throughout the night and the next day, women from the bingo hall came banging down my door, all wanting the exact same thing, for me to take their souls. Their time had come and death had forgotten them. Their souls were ready, but they had no one to take them. Suddenly, I was struck by a sense of profound realization, and the number that called out to me now shined bright in my mind. It was the first time in a long time I went into work with a smile on my face. This job did lead to better things, and I feel like I have a purpose in life now. I have a long way to go before I hit my quota of 1,000 souls. The money isn't great, but I get to do my own side gig over at the mental hospital, where Mrs. Cranston and the other woman I missed got sent to. I run a fun weekly bingo game there on Thursday nights. Hello, listeners. If you enjoyed this story, please check out the author in the description. For more content, leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more sinister readings.